let's go over the warm-up / cool-down routines for the fitness center-based senior-focused workout routine. So there's 3 of these. Each one has 4 stretches or movements that we'll do, and it's going to be 15 seconds at each of these stations. And if it's something you do on left and right, you do both the left and the right, 15 seconds. Okay, so the first one is a behind the back stretch, where I just want you to, and all of these are standing up. Nothing in this program will have you go to the ground. Just if that's an issue, going down and up to the ground, you don't have to worry about that because everything's going to be seated or standing for the program. So the first one, I'm going to reach behind the back, and I'm going to squeeze your shoulder blades together, and your legs are going to be flexed tight, and your abs are going to be flexed tight. And you're just going to try to stretch this out. And the posture is going to be so important for everything else in the program. So one thing to think about, we're never going to have our shoulders in this rounded forward position in anything that we do in the program. You have to work. We're going to try to get stronger in our upper back posture by doing a lot of stuff where we're flexing back. And this is right where we're going to start. The second one is going to be a pec stretch. And actually what I would want is to hold on to the wall in front of me, and then the wall is going to brace my arm, and then I'll look to turn away from the wall, and it'll stretch out my pec muscle right here. So you can do that one on both sides. Next, you're going to do a hip hinge stretch. And a few exercises we'll have in this program will be from this hip hinge position. So the first thing we'll do is get set up in it and stretch it out. So you want your feet pretty much underneath your hips, your whole foot's down on the ground, and your spine. So the hip hinge motion, your feet are going to be down, your whole foot's down on the ground, base hip width. Okay, then you're going to keep your spine, you want to keep your spine in a neutral position, which is going to be universal for pretty much everything we do in the program. Every exercise, in all of them, you'll have a neutral spinal position. So you want to be, and the common tendencies are for us to arch our back like this, or to round our shoulders. So we're going to try to stay in a position where we keep our shoulders back and we keep them down, and we also keep our abs tight so that our spine doesn't arch in some of these positions. Nor do we want it to really round. So we've got to stay right in the middle. This is where we're going to practice this while going down as if you're going to pick something off the ground. So this is a hip hinge motion. And watch when I go down, my knees stay back. So I don't want to come forward. Okay? I want to push my hips back and keep my knees back. And you'll feel the stretch in the back of your legs. And that's what you want to feel on this motion. And keeping my abs tight, keeping my shoulders back. This is a really important movement to stay. This is mobility that's really important to keep as you age. It's really the difference between staying independent. It comes down to independence, being able to have that basic hip mobility. Lateral leg lift is the last one of the first day. So I'm just going to stand, and I can brace my hand on the wall, so I can hold onto the wall to balance. And I recommend you do that until you feel confident with this movement. And then you're going to lift your leg right out to the side and hold that position. Along with keeping your hip mobility, we must develop lateral strength and maintain lateral strength of our hip. And this is something that'll do that. We'll hold that position for 15 seconds. And now I'm not opening my hip like this. I'm going to keep my toe pointed straight ahead, and also think to kick my leg back a little bit so it won't be forward in front of me. I want to kick it back. Moving on to day 2, the warm-up and cool-down for day 2. And the first one is going to be a high knee marching motion. So you're going to go through this motion marching. And when you do this, I want you to think about squeezing, really flexing your leg of your down leg and trying to flex your butt. while lifting your knee as high as you can. And then you're going to go through the marching motion. Another thing that will tend to happen is you'll round your back as you lift your knee. Try not to do that. Try to keep in a neutral spinal position as you lift your leg up. Secondly, you're going to do some arm circles. So stand nice and tall. Let your head stay back. And then rolling your shoulders forward and back. Now every time you bring your arms to the back end of the motion, think about squeezing your shoulder blades together. And you can reverse it and you can either direction. The third one is going to be a shoulder hug. So all you'll do here is try to reach across your body and grab your shoulders like this. And for some of you this will be really easy, but if you're tight, this will be a little bit more difficult. And here you let your shoulder blades just relax and stretch in front. And then the last one is a split stance turn. So the split stance is a position that we will use in a couple of these exercises, especially when you're on the cable machine. And I'll show it to you right now. It's basically a lunge. So if you're confident with lunges, this will be no problem. But even if you're not, we'll work this position. So stepping one foot forward, and you can bend that knee a little bit. But you want your whole front foot on the ground. Your back foot, though, you're going to have your heel up like this. And make sure you don't want your knee to come too far forward into this position. Just like, think about we're still on the hip hinge, but now we're split stance. So, and you can try to find your center of gravity while you're in this position. So get that position first, and then once you got it, you're going to turn and open toward your front leg side. Alternatively, to get this just the stretch, you can just have your knee down and open like this, and that's also a great stretch. So if you're able to go to the ground, no problem, then do both of those. Finally, we'll go to the stretches, or the warm-up for day 3. So beginning with a seated knee tuck. Now, again, you can just, if I had a seat right here, I can do the same stretch from a seated position. But if I can go to the ground, this one is crossing one leg over the other, and I'll feel the stretch on the outside of my crossed leg. Even better, if you can roll on your back and grab in between your legs to pull through, this sort of pretzel stretch is amazing. It really opens up your glutes. It feels so good. The next one is going to be an arm fly hold. We're going to do arm flies for the strength part of our workout. This is such an important motion in keeping your upper body, your upper back strong. So we're going to come into the hip hinge motion here first. So the hips go back, knees stay back, neutral spine, and then I'm going to open up my arms right out to the side. See, my palms are down, and I don't want to shrug my shoulders up. I actually want to sit my shoulders back down and hold that position. The third one is a tricep stretch, so you can just stand up, you reach up in the air, but then let your elbow bend, and then with your other hand, you can assist into the stretch. One thing, though, on this stretch to consider is that a lot of people will stretch this way, and then they're really only going to stretch their lateral aspect of the tricep muscle. And to get the whole, to really open it up, you want to think about turning your shoulder as well as stretching back. So try that out. Finally, the leg kickback and hold. So if I had the wall right here, I could kind of lean into the wall. But if you can balance without it, that's fine too. But you do want to have your torso leaning forward a little bit for this exercise. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze my butt and lift my leg. And what tends to happen is people will arch their back here to lift their leg back. Try not to do that. Try to keep a neutral spine. And then flex your butt to lift your leg. Try not to open your foot either. Keep it straight up and down. And you'll hold that position.